steps, and with this technique, or 3 steps with this technique. The idea of the 4th form is to move in on your opponent to set him up for dim mat striking to the pressure points of the body. In other words, we break down the person's defense for you to attack pressure points, certain pressure points of the body. Because each form in the Jalgar Prayamanta system teaches you a different set of pressure points or dim mat points relating to that form. So basically speaking, pressure points found in the 4th form will not be found necessarily in the 2nd form, likewise in the 8th form. You won't find pressure points in the 8th form found in the 4th form, because each form has a different set of pressure points, a different set of setup, and different techniques entirely. The idea of this form is to, as I said, to break down the person's defense and enter into it in a close range fighting, because Jalgar Prayamantas, the first 70% of the first training procedures in the Jalgar Prayamantas is close in fighting. After that, you separate, you do the slightly longer distance, as well as floor fighting, and using the 3 levels that we talked about in the early videos about the gate theory. So what I'm going to actually do today is demonstrate to you and show you the 4th form. And I'm going to show you from the front view and then from the side. And then I'm going to break that form down so you can learn it much slowly, and therefore you can learn this form at a much better pace. Okay, so the first thing you do is place your feet together. And I'm going to demonstrate the form, and then after that I'm going to break the form down. Now let's see a side view demonstration of the Sambo pink heel form. Okay, now I'm going to break up the form so you can learn some walking heel. First, feet together. Feet inside fist, backs to the palms, facing each other on your chest. Put the right leg forward with the weight here, central, not leaning forward, not leaning back. The foot 30 centimeters roughly apart. From here, you open out, breathe in, press down. From here, at this point, thrust both hands down, tucks up, the energy going down. Cut up, then elbow strike back, elbow strike back again, and elbow strike forward. Open out, go down, thrust downwards. Again, same position as number one. Lift both hands up in this position, continuously rising. When we reach shoulder level, I show this from the side, then thrust. Pulling each finger. One finger, start with the index finger, longest finger, then the last two. 2, 3. To this position. Okay, show that from the side. Hands to the chest, open. Breathe in. Exhale, thrust down. Lift up. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in again. Down. Lift up. Bring your elbows in. Push forward and up at the same time. Thrust. Bring in both elbows first and claw the fingers, index finger, longest finger, and the last two and the little finger. Then at the bottom, grip. So from here, when we bring the fingers in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Both legs, pull. Backside, grip. Ribs, close. Arms. We have what, in the jump up remembers, let me just mention this because it's very important. The body has certain holes in the body. This is one of them. This is the others. You have one at the bottom here. You have at the back of the legs here and here. And you learn to close those holes up because any attack to here or there is dangerous. Here, dangerous. You can. This is what we call closing the arms to stop DMAC striking happening to us or me. So closing the hole, this is why a lot of grip training, so you make your body smaller, because once you make your body small, DMAC is you're harder to hit with DMAC. So remember that point. So going back to the form, bringing in, closing, grip your backside, elbows coming first, not this, elbows in first. From this position, we step forward, going to a 45-degree angle. Step forward at the same time, obviously. Phoenix knife fist, going slightly with the energy upwards. At the same time, this hand pushes that direction. It also can stay here. We can come here, or you can stay here. So, one this way or this way. Okay, let's start from here. We take a step back. We, at the same time, open out the hands. We step forward using pigtail, the fist. still at a 45 degree angle. Step forward using your wrists and rings. You strike. Then you come back slightly and pin heel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Using this and that together. 5. Using the waist and the ribs. Then we go to the left side. Again, at a 45 degree angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, again, this time to a 45 degree angle to the right side. 2, 3, 4, 5. From here, we do 1, Fan Sao, 2, Kap La, seizing hands. Tong San, knee raise. 1, 2, 1 circle, palm up, pull in, half step, suma, let's leg forward to jogger, punch, double punch, double heel, left leg across, turn around, 1, straight into it, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Front out 1, front out 2. Half step, left leg forward, pump, double, left leg across, turn, step forward, double punch, step back, pull at the same time, your shoulder. Step forward, punch, step back, use your shoulder. 1, 2, 3 together, and finish. Okay, now I do that again, this time with the side view, so you can be sure of getting another angle. Okay, you start obviously with your feet together, go into the right leg stance, and do the first initial 8 movements. You come down, thrust out, lift up, 1, 2, 3. Come down, taps up, lift up both arms into the plank heel position, builds up, pull in. Each finger starting with the index finger, 1, 2, 3, 4. We make a step to a 45 degree angle, block and punch at the same time, step back, open hands, step forward, picks up, step forward, jerk or knife edge hand strike, step back, pin heel, step forward, 1, step back, 2, forward, 3, forward, 4, step back, pin heel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fan Sao, seizing front, knee raise, left leg, then the right leg. Turn, palm up, pull in. cho kia chân đầu thở chuyên sơ mó xe thôi mà using the shoulder sân thôi sân thôi feet together and finish. Okay, so in the fourth form, sambo pink heel, we do the techniques twice on this side and once on the left. That's to tell us, and the form tells us that it works best on the right hand side of the body. Likewise, doing the last movement, for instance, that means it works best on that side. It does not mean to say that it doesn't work on the other side. It means that it works best on the side that you are doing it in the form. And I will explain that, for instance, when we get to the application using Dim Mak and using the techniques of what they are for. Going back to the form again, we come to this position, we go to a 45-degree angle. If I face directly at you, face directly at the camera, this is what it looks like, just like this. The body is half on, nothing is straight on. You cannot find square on. So when we do something with a 45-degree angle, that's telling us that movement, I'm going towards that direction, I'm actually hitting someone in that direction. If I just change myself to the position of the camera, it would look like this. The ribs are closed, shoulders slightly dropped, the angle of direction and the feelings like this is this technique. You may have seen it in other application videos, but the angle of direction is slightly upwards, the energy goes up. This hand can be placed just in front of just inside of your arm, or here, and I will tell you why it's placed here or there when we do the application using Dim Mak. So 45-degree angle, here, make yourself a less of a target yourself. We step back. We use this technique. This one cutting back, this one doing this. And again, I'll explain the reason behind that as well. Don't let this arm go back too far. Not like this. Stop there. That's where that technique stops. The next technique, this one. I do it for the camera, so I'll move it into the camera. Again, starts like this. Using the wrist here. This technique. Then finally, after this technique, use the wrist again, using the older side of the arm. Using Dik Bakul and the waist as well. Closing. Then we come to pins up from an angle towards the camera, and obviously I'll turn slightly towards that direction. We come here, we step back, and we again use this kind of movement. And the pins arm is a very important technique. Using this part of the arm and this part of the arm here. Then we do the same thing on the left side. 1, 2, using this technique. 3, using the wrist. 4, using Dik Bakul and the edge of the palm. At the same time, when you strike, breath, push down, and the energy comes out, like this. You step back, pin heel. You can even use a kind of sudden gain movement with this when you have learned this form to a much higher standard. You use gain power. We come again to the right hand side. Now, usually in a form and in the Mantis forms, determine a particular angle, determine the angle and direction you're hitting, as well as what pressure points you're hitting and what's actually happening to the person. Because not a lot of people are thinking what's actually happening to the body when you do a certain technique. To give you an example of this, if I punch someone in the stomach, most likely he will double forward. If I punch him in the face, he will come back. But people don't think like this. They just do the form blindly, thinking that when they attack here, that's where the next position they're going to be here. Well, the forms, the person who invented the forms a long time ago knew about this as well. He knew the angle and direction, otherwise he would not have created that form. That's why forms are created. It's no good creating a form by yourself if you don't understand the angle and direction, the pressure points. You must understand the angle and direction, and this is why traditional Chinese Kung Fu is very important, more important than anything that's been made up recently. That's very important. So we must understand that. So going towards that direction, we go to a 45-degree angle because it works best at a 45-degree angle. We know about this. You ask any Western boxer, and he doesn't fight square on, he fights side on. Because it's always been in the ring, it's more effective by legs. That's the target. So this is why a 45-degree angle, this technique, coming back still at a 45-degree angle. At the same time, giving a small gain or jerk with the hips, waist, and ribs. Forward, pin heel, and this technique at the same time, striking this movement. Now, when we've done these techniques, for instance, half step is another important technique, goes into the center of where the stance is. Step forward, punch, doubles up again, use the waist, jun means to turn, and then you come straight into it. This technique, and we do that again twice on the right side, once on the left, turn down, finally we come to this position. 1, 2, 3. This technique, and as I say, I will explain with the application. We come forward, we pull back. Remember, the way you learn the form is very important. So if a form says you pull the hands here, providing it's traditional, okay? If someone made it up recently, it doesn't know anything about pressure points, it's a chance that the technique may be a bit false, maybe not be as effective, or if he hasn't done any combat himself, or if he hasn't proven his art, or christened his art, so they say, then there's a tough chance that he's made that technique not understanding the particular parts of the body, what happens when you pull somebody, where their body's going to be, and therefore the next technique determines where that body is. If I pull you here, my next technique has got to be there, because I pull the person there, I got to punch him there. It's not going to be put him there and punch him there, because he's not going to be there. If I put him there, he's going to be there. So this is this technique. I pull and I do this. I know where his body's going, where his body is. So I come forward, I do a double Phoenix eye punch. I step back. I pull. Now, when I pull, my hands come as far back as this. There's a reason behind this. And then I use the shoulder. I pull, I use the shoulder. The hands, this technique must go back here. If you try to do this technique here, it won't work. It's got to come back here, and then you can do the technique properly. It's done in the form with the right shoulder going down, not the left side. Now, that doesn't mean to say it does not work on the left side. It does work on the left side. It works on both sides. Everything can be done something work best on the right side. So this is the important part of the forms. And if it's a traditional form, and if it's been passed down through the ages without it being adopted, you know, without too much taken out, even though it's quite still effective, then we can still understand what the generations before us had in their mind. Because if something, for instance, if I change this technique thinking, oh, it's going to work best there, it won't. It must come back in and it works best there. This is the important part of the forms. So we've got the fourth form, and the name of that is called Sambo Pinkyo. Some call it Sambo Pinkyo. Doesn't matter about the name because it means the same thing. So there's the form of the fourth. There's the form of the fourth. Okay, so you see me do the fourth form, Sambo Pinkyo. Now I'm going to explain the application using dim mat striking points. Also, after the dim mat striking points, I'm going to go into some of the leg exercises that we do in the Jalbar Frame system. So I'm going to introduce one of the students here, Clive Carr, and what I'm going to do is actually explain the first movements of the form. I've gone through this in other forms, first form, second form. But most of all, as I explain in other forms, that each technique can have an application of minimum of 3 applications. Some of the techniques are done singly, some of the techniques are done as a progressive movement. And I will give you an example of a progressive movement. For instance, a progressive movement means that in a form, we go do a technique, and the next technique may be in case that technique didn't work. So this is in the fourth form as well, which I explained later on. Also, in the first aid movement, it's found. And to give you an example, if you say, for instance, this technique here, I come down, I've used this, I've said this in the other videos, and this is a strike into the bladder. Strike directly in, paralyzes the legs, provided you get those pressure points. But if, say, for instance, this technique here, now when I teach this form, when I first started learning this form back in 1975, my master told me it's not like this, it's not this way, it's like this way, almost level in line with the chest, like this, at that angle, pointing at a 45-degree angle. And for a long time I didn't understand why, the reason that was like this. But it wasn't until, obviously, later on in my training that I was explained. For instance, if someone grabs me, it goes like this, at that angle. Here, that point there, which is the large intestine point, number 4, that is a pressure point that we use in the Jalbar Frame system. Now, provided he doesn't hold the fist too tight, because if he does, then the pressure point gets closed. But if he's just grabbed, which obviously, if he's grabbing something, he must leave that pressure point open slightly. Now, with the middle finger, the longest finger, this technique represents grabbing that pressure point. I hit that, I torque that pressure point here, and I bring it to this position in the form, holding that pressure point. Now at the same time, this technique will hit that neck, right across, because that's why the technique goes like this, and it does this. It doesn't go like that, it goes like this. You see me do the form 1, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3. Now, let's try to try to understand this, okay? The elbow strike then comes round like this. It comes at that angle. It doesn't come over. It doesn't come here. It comes progressive techniques in the form. I hold this pressure point, okay, I'm not going to hold it too hard. And then I strike him. His solar plexus is there. My body is here. I've done that movement. I'm not going to hold it. And that's why the elbow fits directly into the solar plexus. If I grab any pressure points on the wrist, his body here becomes weaker. Okay, do this with a different angle, yeah? So, he goes and grabs me. It can be done left or right. It's done left both sides of the form, the knees done left or right. I hold the pressure point here. I strike it here. The pressure point is here, solar plexus, or the pressure point about an inch below the solar plexus will affect the heart. So we grab the pressure point here. 1, 2, 3. That's one. 1, 2, 3. This takes it, and this elbow comes like this. He grabs, I grab that pressure point, bring it here, slide the neck. If he doesn't go with that, if I hit him hard enough, he's going to pass out. If he didn't go, then we have coming in directly into the elbow, into the solar plexus, just below the solar plexus, which has a direct effect over the heart. So just those 3 techniques in the last forms. You see me say it's an elbow strike, you see me say it's a backward elbow strike, you've also seen me explain it's a forward elbow strike, coming like this. But now I'm explaining that it's also used to grab the pressure point here, which is the large intestine pressure point. You can find this on any acupuncture book. So just that technique. Foul all this, if that don't work, after this technique is again. So after I come in, I can go directly down into the pressure point that sits on the bladder, hitting the nerve, striking. Foul is this one. Coming under the ribs. There's heart 1 is here. We've already hit heart pressure point that links the heart, which is there's a central little meridian that runs directly down. We've already hit that. Now number 1 directly sits under the axilla part, which is here. And this is a dangerous point, can kill the person. So, again, he goes and grabs me like this. Alright, this is finding it a bit painful. I don't blame him. Okay, I bring him round like this. I hit him, I'm not going to hit him. I strike here. If that don't work, which it should do, I come in here, that, under. And that's a progressive technique found in those first 8 movements of the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh form. And as explained, I can go even more deadly than that. But this is a progressive technique used in our forms as well. And they can also be used singly, like just by itself. Okay, you see me explain the first 8 movements of the first form. Now I'm going to explain the 5 movements that make up the full form, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and followed by the last movement, pink arm or pink heel. These movements aim at the pressure points or the dignac points of the body. So I'm going to bring in one of these students and we're going to see what the techniques are for and the exact location of those points that we strike in that form. Okay, the first technique is if someone is here, we can use this in many different ways. We can use to knock this hand out of the way and move in to strike the liver point, which is about an inch down from the chest area here on the right-hand side of the body. You will find that in any acupuncture book, and it's an alarm point of the liver. The phoenix fist is slightly directed up into the liver because the nerves, as I said before, sit just under the rib. So this the gallbladder point, which again is just below the liver point, and also this is an alarm point of the gallbladder. A very dangerous point for dim mag striking. Those 2 points, just those 2 points are very dangerous and very, very effective to hit. So we come in and we can use this hand as a blocking hand to move it out of the way and strike those points. But there is a superior way of using this technique, and that's to go straight in without actually blocking, because this is the setup of the next movement, which is this one. I come in, I strike the liver point or the gallbladder point, and his hand has got to be somewhere here. It can be behind his back. If he wants it, that would be no use to him at all. But his hand will most likely be here. Therefore, when we step back, we come back doing this movement. I catch the point, the pressure point here, and I hit the lung point here. At the same time, this is the reason why we step back. I'll make this clear to you. So punch here. If I don't step back, this is what happens. He comes on top of me. When we step back for a reason, it goes 1, 2, to 1, 2, and we break that arm. We hit the pressure points, and I'll mark these up. I'll do a close-up, I'll mark them up first. Those pressure points, one is here, and the other one that we're hitting is here. A very important point for that particular technique, and I'll show a close-up of that. So the pressure point here, situated about ½ inch up from the wrist, and here, where the tricep muscle is, there's a pressure point here. We can also hit this one here, but this one is more effective if we wanted to release the power from the strength from his elbow in order for us to break his arm. That point and this point is used in this particular technique. So we use this part of the hand in the fourth form, this part here, to catch that pressure point, that dim mag point. At the same time, we strike that one. Sometimes, some combo styles do this, and you can do this in this style, it doesn't matter. But when something wants to represent a break in technique, sometimes you do this noise. It's not to make the form look pretty or make it, sound nice. It's for a reason, because that represents 1, 2, represents breaking, and the direction of this point is to hit down, because if he grips the fist, when I hit that, it will release his fist to open it. See, it opens, so we hit that point. At the same time, we get back on this point here, a very important point. It belongs to the 5 meridian. So, strike. So we come in, 1, 2, and the reason why I step back is very simple, is because he doesn't come on top of me at the same time. Impossible for me to demonstrate a technique properly without having his arm broken. So we strike that 2 points, and there's that technique. We come in, strike the liver or gallbladder. We can use it like this, we can use it like this. The second technique is to step back and at the same time break that technique. That's just one application. It's not a block. We do very little blocking in Jalgar brain matters. It's not a block. That gets us nowhere. It leaves me in the same position as I started off in. We can also use this technique as a cross point. In other words, to hit this point and the point here, and the gallbladder point here, 2 points, left and right, to actually hit that, and that will cause him to blank out straight away. So we come around here and we do that. He's going already, okay? This is a very dangerous technique to do. It should never be done unless you're under the guidance of an instructor who knows pressure point and knows revival techniques. So that point there, 1, 2, or 1, 2. And that technique, 1, 2, stops there. That is finished. In other words, the fight should have ended with just those two techniques. Now the next technique, the next three techniques, goes 1, 2, 3. Now suppose I want to get in on him. In other words, if I wanted to attack him, I will need some kind of setup. Because although you may know dim back striking, the important thing is you've got to know how to fight. If you don't know how to fight, how can you do your dim back striking? If you don't know about the energy, if you don't know the way the person's going to move, therefore you can't set him up. So full form is a basic dim back setup point. Along here we have the heart meridian, and there's a point in that heart meridian here, on the wrist. You can focus in on that as I want to make a point. So the heart point is here. And this point here, this action with the wrist, because that's a very painful technique if done properly. This is very useful because the energy comes out there. If I hit that point, it hurts it. I'm setting up. I come in. I actually hit that point. I can hit somewhere else as well. This is not the only application. But he's got his hands up, he will do. I hit that point. 1. I come in. I can come into several places because the next point could be the alarm point of the lung, which 2 points here. And I can catch them both together. I can also catch this point here. A dim back striking point. He doesn't like me ordering setup. There's a point, 2 points here, the second point, and 2 points here beside it. I can catch that there. I can catch the pressure point just on the side here. And that represents that technique. 1, 2, or 2 here. If you look in the acupuncture book, you'll find 2 points here, and that point, strike. That point is strike, just here. I can get on there, just below the bum as well, just below the collarbone. There's another point, very painful point, because even if I just press that, bear with me, okay. Okay, so that's a very painful point that we hit in the full form. 1, 2. Hold your hand up. Bang. We don't hit that point. We can also get the center point. There's another point, pressure point here, which I can also hit because the basic is a setup point. That point there is a setup point. In other words, if we do anything to the wrist, it's setting him up. And the full form teaches us to move in by setting him up first, hit there, or hit there, and then come in with the kill. Here, there, or here. Or the heart point, there's another heart point which is here, very dangerous point as well. But to see the full form, keep it to the principles. Keep it to the principles. 1, 2. And that should put him out of his misery if he wants to fight us. But if that didn't work, the last technique is pin kill. Like this. Just in case those techniques didn't work, so I've actually hit them. If that didn't work, if you come around with a strike, I block this one, hitting the other pressure point. It could be the lung, it could be the setup point on this side. At the same time, I come right across his neck, striking here. I show you from the other side. Suppose I've hit those points. 1, bang. 2, he comes around. I didn't knock him out with those 2 techniques. So he comes around with a nice punch, hook punch. I hit it, bang, and I step back slightly, and I catch the point, which is here. There's many points on here that we can hit. They're very dangerous around here. Please stay clear. You should never really hit the head unless you can really be active in the street. Then, unless it's a street fight, your life is in danger. You should never, ever hit people there, whether you're teaching them or not, because the effects, sometimes you might knock them out, you bring them around, but the effects is later. In other words, like maybe 3 or 4 years' time, he's damaged, he's feeling very weak, you know, or his arteries are rotting away. So we never hit those. So anyway, those points, we can hit that point there. Strike directly in, and with a small twist, we can knock that point up. I can catch him here. The point, I can catch another very dangerous point which is there. Now, same thing here, that point there, we hit that point on this, okay, when you're coming down with a punch. A bang, I hit that point, ha! Hit it. So going back, so if I hit 1, 2, I haven't knocked it out properly, it's coming out, I hit the points, struck the points here, and that point would finish him completely. Just catch that there, because I'm actually hitting arm and then points. And pin kill. That precision pin kill is a devastating technique. Simple though it may seem. So only 5 movements in the full form, but it teaches us how to move in with our steps. 1, 2, and we're using the twist of the waist, we can also add maximum impact on those points. Come around here, and here. And we're catching the point here, that point. We're catching this point. Okay? Or we're hitting the half points with this point. And another thing, his hands are going very cold now because I've already set them up with deep mat points here. His hands are freezing here. That's something that happens with deep mat striking. Blood temperature drops or blood temperature goes too high. I'll sort of massage him afterwards in particular points to bring back those pressure points, back to normal, those blood points. So I hit those points, I'm not going to hit you again. 1, 2, he comes out, and then pin kill, followed by, if he's showing his fist like that, I catch the lung point. If he's showing it like this, I'm catching the centre point here. Whichever points I want to take. So, those points, going back to the beginning, come in, 1, to the point to the liver point, or gallbladder point. 2, breaking his arm, hitting the lung point, and the half points, not the half of Sanjiao or stomach intestine, small intestine points here. Bang! That will dislocate his arm. If I don't want to do that, if I want to get in there, I can do it here. I can hit the gallbladder points at the head, one above here, and I can hit the point which is at the side of the jaw, or I can hit mounted back here. Because that technique is that movement. 1, 2. And I can knock him out by just tapping him here and there. Just a small tap will put him down. The fight's over. And then we go back to the other points using the wrist, because it's more easier to use this technique here than it would be if I just do that. It doesn't do it half as much if I do that, because the energy is coming out that wrist. And then we move in, strike the lung point of the lung, and we can strike this pressure point here, which is just on the collarbone, just above the collarbone, or just below the collarbone. There, 2 points there, and that's at the pressure point there. And then we can, if that doesn't work, if we can't finish him off, if we can't finish him off, and he decides to come down with the other punch, then we come down, hitting the points on the arm, at the same time coming across his neck, either an upward fashion or a downward fashion, or coming the jaw here, turn down, the jaw here, this way, and that will destroy him completely. Or we can hit the temple if we go a bit further here, but I like to stick to these points in the full form. Here, this way, or that way, or this way. Dangerous techniques indeed. Okay, face it again. When we've done that on the right and left side. Now, the reason why it's done twice on the right, once on the left, you know about the liver. it's on this side of the body. So obviously that's why this form is important to do this form twice on the right side. And we come to here and we go like this. This is also a cross technique. Double cross technique. Bang, bang. We can use this as a fun style as well. But the advanced method of using that technique is one here and the other side. Bang! Again, just the same as what I taught before, cross point. We're using the cross points over down here or the head. Here. And then seize in to control it. And then we do the whole form, we turn it up, and we do the whole form again. Okay, if you stop there. Okay, you've seen me demonstrate and map out the dim mat points by using the 5 basic moves found in the sample PQ form, the full form. When we turn around the form, when we turn around and finish the form, it double punches, we step back, we pull, and we use our shoulder here. And we do this 3 times. There's a reason why it's done on the right-hand side. Because I'll explain that technique why it's done on the right side. I mean, basically speaking, anything can be done on the right side, and anything can be done on the left side. But some things work best on the right side, while some things work best on the left side. It really depends on what technique you're using according to the dim mat striking points. So this is very important to know this, and the forms that you learn in any martial art tells you that particular part of the art itself. And you've got to search this out for yourself. And once you've made that search, once you've made that initial movement, then obviously you can find those techniques out in your own form and style. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate this technique on one of the students. So basically this technique can be used. As I say, there's more than one application of the way we use techniques in this particular form. But in this movement, I'm actually grabbing the 2 wrist points here, and then I'm bringing them down. There's that movement. We bring it, pull it, and here. And we pull him down. If he resists me, he's going to have his arm broken. And that technique, we pull to here. And this technique is using the shoulder on the pressure points at the back of the tricep, or we can use the pressure point, which is 1 inch up from the elbow. Now, I believe that this technique was devised by Jawaharlal when he was in the Shaolin Temple about 200 to 300 years ago. I will tell you why I believe it was developed by Jawaharlal, because Jawaharlal was said to be small. And this technique works best if your opponent is bigger than you. Because my shoulder, if he's tall, which he is taller than me, but the thing is, my shoulder will fit perfectly into that pressure point. I will bring him here and bring him down. And there's that position. He can have his arm broken, or I can just bring him on the floor to finish him to do another movement. The reason why it's done on the right-hand side of the body, most people are right-handed. So this technique is pulling the left arm. The left arm on most people is slightly weaker. And so if it's slightly weaker, we have more chance of breaking it. I grab the 2 wrist points and I hit those points. That releases an elbow and I bring him down. So just that technique, 1, 2. If I do that any arm, he will suffer from a broken arm, or I bring him down on the floor for me to do another movement to finish it. So it goes 1, 2, 3. We also can use this application to use as a shoulder pad. solar plexus. We can hit the pressure point here, which is about half inch below the solar plexus. It's a half point, and that point fits perfectly here. So if I'm following the right bang and I come in and I hit that pressure point there, I can control these wrist points, because if I control these wrist points, if I control these points here, it makes the center line or the center part of his body weaker. And if I drag the 2 points, it will make it even more weaker. And so by hitting that and striking, it's hurting more than it would be if I just got him like this, if I control pressure point, the two lower pressure points and the half pressure points here, or the center pressure points, this point becomes weaker. And so hit there. See, he's pulling me to pain already. So grabbing there and bang. But most of all, this technique we use here, and we can pull him down. He's already going down. And he's a bigger, heavier than me. He's 14, 15 stone. That technique can bring a heavier man down on the floor. If you don't want to do anything, you can run after that. Someone tries to grab you, you pull him, use your shoulder. If he resists too hard, he's going to have his arm broken. If not, you go on the floor. Okay, so there's the techniques of the full form by using dim match striking points. And now we're going to go on to the leg movements after this fade off. Okay, you've seen me demonstrate with one of the students a leg training job that we use for developing the flexibility and reaction with our legs. This has nothing to do with the full form. It's a training aid that I'm teaching you. Now, I just want to make it clear to you that our legs are meant for blocking your legs, such as palms up or whatever, and our hands are meant for dealing with your hands. So in other words, our legs deal with anything in this area, while our hands are meant for this area. Yeah, and using the gates as well. So I bring on the student again, and the first thing you do when doing this exercise, place your hands on your waist, because the reason why you want to concentrate on your legs, so put your hands on your waist for the time being. There are hand techniques eventually that we use. I make a low kick to the groin, and what happens is he blocks like this, catching my leg, like this. So put it down again. As I come to the groin, he blocks, guide his groin, this like this. The next technique he uses is a side kick to my knee, and I block, again hooking his leg. He tries to make a strike to the pressure point here, and what I do is as he does, I catch him at the pressure point on the back of the calf. Catch him like this, and that hurt him. Yeah. Okay, so that's how the reaction was. We don't just block the leg, we actually try to hit the mat points. So I make a kick to the groin, he blocks. I come in, he comes in with a side kick, and I catch the pressure point there. These techniques can be used against any kicking technique. If he does a side kick to my side kick, we can block here and fire away again with a side kick again. I'll block, kick, move in. I'm not using any hand techniques, by the way. Or if he comes to kick down here, we can use to catch the leg. Catch, and hold him there for us to move in. Yeah. Catch and move in. So these catching type techniques are used on the left or the right side. But this training job, that's consisting of 3 different moves, is able for you to make holding it down here. Yeah? And he comes round and I catch, strike him, and then we put both my feet down, and the whole cycle starts again. A groin kick, side kick, block, and here. And then the whole cycle starts again. 1, 2, 3, and down. 1, 2, 3, and down. So we have 3 different types of techniques. A groin kick, the deep block with his knee talks up, and then he fires a side kick. So you should actually try to make this reaction, the kicking, block, kick, kind of reaction that you develop. Block the other leg and move in and strike the other leg, or strike the pressure points here, kick bladder pressure points, kidney pressure points here, getting round the back here. The pressure point here, turn around, that I'm hitting is there. There's pressure points all along there, and when I hit that, that's where we catch. That's a point to put the person down and move in with other techniques. So we have that technique. So here's a training job that we use in the Jalgar Praymanas. This is the first training job to develop our footwork and as well as our leg work. Okay, so you see the full form, Sambo Hingyil. Those 5 movements of the full form which relate to certain pressure points of the body. Each of the forms in the Jalgar Premana system relate to certain in-match striking points. Also, leg training drills are very important in this style to develop the sensitivity and the flexibility of the legs. Our kicking techniques are kept low. We know the benefits of low kicking techniques are more effective than high kicking techniques. Traditional Chinese martial arts are very important, and I hope that I want to get across to the people that traditional martial arts are the best.